think I was just kind of on self-destruct. I thought, well, if no one's going to pay attention or acknowledge me, then what's the point of me listening to what they have to say? I'll just do my own thing.
I've been in trouble with the police loads of times, and it's all alcohol related, and it's always violence and things to do with violence or theft or stuff like that.
Brighton, on the south coast. This is a city that provides a good quality of life for most of its people. Yet for some, living in the more difficult neighbourhoods, their lives are far from easy. With these diverse and contrasting communities, Brighton has been chosen to pilot the government's new initiative, Every Child Matters. Its ambition is to give every child the opportunity to realise his or her potential. For older teenagers, as they step into adulthood, this is an exciting period of their lives, but it can also be a period of disillusionment. David Hawker is the director of the newly created Brighton Children's Trust. For him, 15 to 19-year-olds are the most difficult age group to engage with. His task is to bring together all the council's agencies to tackle the issues that hold this age group back.
It's about young people learning to be adults, learning to spread their wings, education, training, youth support, connections. It's Every Child Matters, providing a real launchpad into the adult world.
Some of the kids around here are my role models. Some of them look up to me and they always say to me, I want to be just like you. And I'm like, no, you don't want to be just like me. I've life. You don't want to be like me. You don't want to have no job. You don't want to be dropping out of school.
I think maybe, I don't wish she's not here or anything, but maybe if I didn't fall pregnant at 16, I might have gone on and done more at college.
An important aspect of David's work is meeting the youth workers who work directly with young people.
As you know, we've been moving on this Children's Trust line for the last couple of years or so. This is a real step forward in terms of making the Children's Trust a reality for young people, and bringing together the services in the way that we're planning to do is an important staging post in doing that. Every Child Matters is probably the most fundamental change in public policy that we've seen for a generation. It's really, I think, quite remarkable how the whole of the policy has shifted around from it being driven by lots of policies to being driven by the needs of children and young people themselves. So it's kind of turned everything inside out. And it's based around what children's needs are, what their aspirations are. The 5 outcomes of Every Child Matters are absolutely superb. You can basically get everything into them. Being healthy, staying safe, enjoying and achieving, making a positive contribution, achieving economic well-being. And I say to people that if you've got those 5, you actually don't need anything else, because everything else fits into one of those 5 or more of those 5. And once we've got that rounded picture of our aspirations for children and young people, actually they came from the children and young people themselves. That's what they wanted for themselves. It's what parents want for them. It's what all of us working with them want for them. A reality for young people.
David outlines his vision for an integrated, seamless service.
I guess that we've got a real vision to make the whole thing as seamless as possible. The careers work, the connections intensive work, the youth work, the statutory sector, the voluntary sector, all the professionals actually understanding what one another does and all together as a team supporting our young people.
Luke is 17 years old. He lives on the White Hawk estate in Brighton. He was frequently excluded from school and has a history of violence and petty crime. He is one of the many young people that Every Child Matters is designed to help.
My mum and dad split up when I was young. I was about 5, and I was going through a little bit of a hard time then, but that was nothing major. I still see my dad. I was labouring for my stepdad. He was a plasterer. I was a trainee plasterer. It was good money, but I messed it up by turning the cameras around at work, and the site got robbed. And the boss asked me what I thought about it, and I told him I didn't care, and he said, "Oh, I was sacked for my attitude."
For those young people that are outside of, or in a sense, the sort of remit of what Every Child Matters is about at the moment, so as you know, those young people that are sort of getting towards sort of 17, 18, 19, I think what we've got to look at is we've got to look at it's looking at the whole provision, that 0 to 19. It's kind of making sure that we don't lose sight of that at any one time. So whilst there is a preventative work, I think in terms of looking at the lower age range, I think it's about what I've welcomed is the kind of the return of the sort of phrase, in a sense, preventative work. And I would say that youth work has been very much about preventative work. And what I would say is working with a 16, 17, 18-year-old would be about looking at options, looking at life choices, helping them evaluate what they've done, where they've got to, where they would like to go.
At the moment, I'd like some money. So my ambition is to make some money at the moment. But I was working, but I don't really want to go back into employment yet. I'm just going to look for a bit and that. But no, my dream is to be a rapper. I wake up in the morning and ask myself, what you doing with your life? You've got to sort yourself. So I started writing lyrics and I stayed away from crime. I've done this every day, one step at a time. The days will pass, so would the weeks. At the end of the month I had a whole book of lyrics. I started shotting drugs to see me through, so I could go out clubbing, hanging with the crew. People telling me I was good and that, so I believed in myself, performing good chats, getting on the mic and selling at the clubs, getting free drink, getting free drugs, getting all this, doing the thing I love, but I weren't getting paid, that was bad enough. So I started getting better, still doing my thing. When I get up on the mic, clubs would be jumping, then they wanted me to come back and MC. Finally they were paying me, until the day I become a famous MC. Last time I was in trouble with the police was about 3 weeks ago. I got a Section 5 of the Public Order Act. I got into a bit of bother one night and old Bill pepper sprayed me, and I got away and they couldn't catch me. My mates actually jumped old Bill for me, so it helped me get away. And then I had another charge, which was offensive weapons ×2 and violence down the Brighton Marina Bowlplex.
But today Luke is staying out of trouble and has agreed to attend a youth services review meeting. It's his chance to have his say on how the service could be improved. Interested in what Luke and others have to say is James Dugan, Children's Services Commissioner.
Today, what we're here for is for you to express your views, to have conversations with each other, for you to actually mull over ideas, and for us to listen.
We need to ensure that young people are in attendance and that they're properly involved in order for this to be successful. So I'm asking all of you who are managers and heads of service and head teachers to take responsibility to actively encourage your staff so that they can support young people in order to get involved. And I'm sure you all agree that this is a really crucial part of this review.
We go there and we tell them what we want done in Brighton and that, and what things we'd like to see, and all they ever do is take notes down, and then we never get told nothing what's happened, and then nothing ever happens. It's just a load of So I just wasted basically my day again, and I've been to loads of these meetings before about things I'd like what young people in Brighton and Hove would like to see in the community and that. I think another thing that scares people off college as well is because if you go to college, you can only go work a couple of days a week, you're not earning enough money, and that's what some people want now, isn't it? Is money to survive and that. So I don't know, maybe if colleges and things like that as well started providing a little bit more education money.
That's a really interesting point, that is, isn't it? I mean, in terms of what we're just talking about is kind of like Brighton's got a lot going on, and
Despite Luke's cynicism about the review meeting, there is a growing feeling amongst the professionals that Every Child Matters isn't just another government initiative that will run out of steam.
It's not just another government scheme. I mean, the government has been leading it in many ways, but it has taken off. It's captured the imagination, and all around the city, the city here and the system nationally, you've got people who are actually getting what it's all about. From all sorts of different sectors. I've talked to magistrates, I've talked to early years practitioners, I've talked to school governors. As soon as you explain to them, yes, it makes sense. That's what it's all about. So it's not just a government initiative, it's something which has captured the imagination of thousands and thousands of people who work with children and young people.
Luke's early troubles led to petty crime. Laura's early teen problems were through a lack of support at school and low self-esteem, binge drinking and a teenage pregnancy. She has a 7-month-old daughter, Keisha.
15 years of age I was when I first had sex.
Prior to having the baby, emotionally immature, definitely. She was all over the place. She always seemed to be looking for something and was never seen to be satisfied with what was on offer to her. She always wanted something else. Grass was always greener elsewhere.
I fell pregnant at 16, had her when I was 17. Before I went to secondary school, I loved school. And then once I got into secondary school, where you had to work so much, I didn't take to it very well. I never had one sex education class at school, not one at all. I mean, you learn about a few odd things in science, like biology, about the body, but I never actually learned anything about sex in school.
She's definitely sexually promiscuous. She thinks, I say to her sometimes, you forget, you know, I am your mum, I do, and Laura's not very good at lying. She would tell you something and you'd know that what she was saying, but it got to the stage where if you was to confront her about it, she would stand and have a blazing row with you and deny it and get upset and cause massive disruption, rather than just turn around and admit that's what had happened. As far as I know, being sexually active, I think she told me it was about 15. I feel myself that she was probably sexually active before then.
I went to secondary school in Brighton and they found out that I had ADHD and that I was dyslexic, and my mum had been saying to them for a while that she thought I was dyslexic, and they used to say that I was just being lazy in lessons and not bothering. And then once they realised what it was, I got some help in some of my schools, but not in all of them.
She had a lot of negative feedback on her behaviour. She was a lovely baby, beautiful baby, good like Keisha, well behaved, not a wicked bone in her body. And even now, she can be a but she's got heart of gold.
If I can find somewhere private that will take housing benefit, they'll pay my rent.
She was floundering before she'd even started secondary school. They realised then that her reading age was only 6 years, 5 months at 11. She had a really tough time catching up. If her condition had been diagnosed earlier, then she wouldn't have had so much negative feedback, which she could have gone on to school and developed her self-esteem. I had to get a consultant from the hospital to come into the school, had to arrange a meeting. The school, Senko, never even knew anything about it. They never knew about these things they could do during lessons.
It was left to Laura's mother to get the help she needed. And it is this lack of communication between the professionals that the Children's Trust is trying to put right.
It's making sure services cover the gaps, I mean, and are accessible. I think one of the key things which as a detached youth worker, as I said, in working in the sort of city centre, one of the things that we sort of saw a role was that often services, if not careful, could open up, they could be placed and expect young people to access them. We've got a great service, it's going to be really good for you to be part of this, and it is a brilliant service, fantastic service, but how do young people know that it's there? How do people access it? Do they feel they've got access or ownership of it? And I think one of the key things is making sure that services, it's the gaps in between. And it is that what Connections came from was bridging the gap. And it is about sort of you have a service here and a young person has to make a transition across to another. So they leave school, they make a transition to work, or they make a transition to employment. That's where the gap appears. That's where the danger point is. Have they got the skills, ability, support to get across those gaps?